So the instructions for this are to talk about something that you're passionate about. And so I figured I could talk about family or art or music or talk about jazz, which sort of puts all of these things together. I came to jazz in a fairly direct way. In 7th or 8th grade, I was listening to Elvis Presley and Bill Haley and the Comets, and a friend put Stan Kenton on the record player. Changed my life, changed the way I listen to music, changed what I listened to. I went on to college. It changed what I did in the daytime. I did not study at night. I listened to music. I ran a jazz festival there, and 40 years later, we're running a jazz festival here in Pittsfield. About 4 years after the jazz festival started, we formed Berkshire's Jazz, which, as you can see, is a nonprofit organization. We do two things. We run music events, and we advocate for jazz education in Berkshire County, because education is where it must start when people are young. This was a life-changing experience. Many of you might have seen Dave Rubeck sitting next to a high school freshman named Sam Landis here at the Colonial Theater 3 years ago. This is part of our dual purpose of combining music with music education, and that was pretty much a life-saving event for Sam. Music changed his life, or at least it certainly made an ordinary day into a really good day. Dave Rubeck is one of the jazz masters that we've had in concert. We've had 3 others over the 9 years that we've been doing the Jazz Festival. Randy Weston, who was discovered in the Berkshires and became a Berkshire's Jazz living legend. Dave Brubeck, of course, Dr. Billy Taylor, the founder of the jazz education movement, and Phil Woods. On the left there is Billy Taylor in rehearsal before his concert at the Colonial Theater in 2006. And on the right, a group that is very popular among the youngsters these days, the Meta Quintet. And they appeared about 8 years ago here at the Colonial Theater. And we already passed through, no, this is Randy Weston at a very special day right here on this very stage at the Berkshire Museum when we had the chance to declare him the Berkshire's Jazz living legend. Discovered in Lenox as a dishwasher, and he became an NEA jazz master. Yes, indeed. Now, these are 2 very special women. We had a Women in Night at a Women in Jazz night at our festival a few years back, and Grace Kelly at the time of this was about 15 years old, and Claire Daly, who was on the left, much to her senior, and they'll both be back this year. Talking about our education, this is a wonderful jazz drummer, Winard Harper. You're not likely to see a better drummer around these parts ever. He appeared in concert here with the Williams College Jazz Ensemble, part of our jazz festival a few years back. We do a lot of other special events other than the festival. A student art contest engages all the high schools in Pittsfield, and the winner of that student art contest, their piece becomes our graphic symbol for the festival over the course of the year. We've been doing it for 5 years now. We do events on some First Fridays as part of the Arts Walk. We had a special concert last weekend as part of the 10 by 10 Festival. We do clinics and workshops at schools and field trips, and we had a field trip here last spring with Frederick Moyer of the Jazz Arts Trio, and performing and talking to students from both of the Pittsfield middle schools. And what you saw on the screen there a minute ago were 2 of the examples of the winners of our student art contest. And here's Charlie Tokars in action. Tell me those kids aren't engaged. This is what we really do, huh? They're really into it, and that's what we got to do is get them when they're young. Charlie is one of the fine saxophone players you'll ever hear right here in the Berkshires, and he's a teacher and a performer. And this is Armand Donnellian. Many of you may have seen him at Baba Louie's last Friday night. He's been here twice. He's a legend, unknown of perhaps outside the Northeast, and we're very lucky to be able to present him here in the area. And the next slide I want to show you is something that shows that what jazz reaches is people of all generations. There are, you may know this youngster who's the son of an executive at Greylock Federal Credit Union who's holding him on his lap, and the older people behind him. This is our very first jazz festival. The youngster now is a drum student over at the Berkshire Music School, and I just love the generations and the concentration they have on what's going on the stage there. So we do have something for every generation. I don't know if I should talk much about this slide other than the fact that this was probably the first picture that was ever taken at a jazz festival outside of what is now Barrington Stage over on Union Street Theater, then the Berkshire Music Hall. And that's Megan Wilden who helped us really get started. We have special events coming up this spring, including the Claire Daly Quartet, again right here with a special project she did honoring the music of Thelonious Monk, and the Jeff Holmes Quartet, who will be at Baba Louie's on April 5th. Claire will be here on March 29th, so 2 Fridays in a row. Jeff Holmes, if you listen to WFCR, a week doesn't go by that you don't hear his new CD. So you're going to be hearing music from 2 new CDs this spring. And we're going to be telling you in a couple of weeks about the Berkshire Gateway Jazz Weekend, which had its debut in Lee last September. And we're going to be bringing it back to Lee this July 25th through 28th. So hold the dates. It's going to be a very special event. Now, many of you may have seen Grace Kelly. She's 14 years old in this one. She appeared on stage with Phil Woods for one number. And during that number, Phil took off his legendary leather cap, put on her head, sort of passing the torch to the next generation. And this became part of jazz legend because a few years later, 5 to be exact, Grace Kelly did a recording named after Phil Woods called The Man with the Hat. He's got the hat on again here, but he is a guest with her on this CD, and they performed the music from that CD here in the 2011 Pittsfield City Jazz Festival. The anecdote about getting the hat is actually part of jazz lore. It's on the CD, and she talks about it wherever she goes. Here's another very special day for Sam Landis. You saw him with Dave Brubeck in the rehearsal. Here he is delivering the goods in the evening concert with the Berkshires Jazz Youth Ensemble, a group that we established to perform with professionals as they come through as part of the festival. Every year for the last 6 years, we've been combining the students with professionals. So, again, what do we got coming up? This one may raise eyebrows. The Brubeck brothers are coming to Pittsfield in October with a salute to their father. So they're going to celebrate the music and the legacy of Dave Brubeck, along with all these other events that you see on the right side. So, am I passionate about jazz? I guess so. I talk pretty fast about it. And I hope you could see that from the expressions on some of these faces, that it is a life-changing experience. Music of any sort, jazz is mine, but music of any sort can really be important to people. So go out and hear some. Okay.